Hello, boss. Hello, good morning. How are you?
Hey, I'm very good, thank you.
Yeah, actually, good afternoon. It's already 3 p.m. And how are you doing? How's life?
It's going really well. I took already a longer break from my last job, which we might talk about today. So I'm actually enjoying the spring and hopefully a warm summer. Yeah.
Any new hobbies nowadays?
Not really hobbies, but we welcomed our first newborn last year, a daughter, and so we are
Oh,
very busy raising her. So that's
congratulations.
my new thing. Yes, thanks.
Congratulations. Nice. Yeah. Maybe if you can briefly introduce yourself to the audience, it would be great.
Sure. So I'm Bas Swaen. I'm a co-founder of Scribbr. It's a student platform where students can get help with graduation. Um, I'm originally from the Netherlands, in a place called Deurne. That's the southern part of the Netherlands. I studied in Tilburg, and that's also where I founded Scribbr together with my co-founders. I started just out of university, and we ran the business for over 10 years. Uh, in 2022, we were acquired by Learneo. That's a scale up from Silicon Valley. And after that period, after the acquisition, I continued to work for Learneo, joined the Quillbot team, which is also a company under the Learneo umbrella, and worked there in operations. And that's what I did until the last summer actually. So I did it for 3.5 more years, and now I'm actually exploring new options, new opportunities, investing, but also wanting to maybe start something new. Yeah.
All right, all right. If you reflect back, how did it feel to be like a recent graduate to start a company and then in 10 years just having it acquired by another?
Yeah, looking back, of course, amazing. During the time itself, I still remember that when I was already in high school, I already knew that I wanted to become an entrepreneur. But I also knew that I liked to go to university, do the student experience a bit.
Oh, yeah.
I liked economics, so I studied economics, and that went really well. So yeah, 10 years ago, now it's really 15 years ago, after graduation, I was thinking like, hey, how can I at some point start a business? And my idea was I should start it right away after university, because if I end up at a company, I might like that as well. And then it would be harder, I think, to start again.
Yeah, that's for
Um,
sure.
yeah, so yeah, looking back, I made the right decision to right away go ahead and go all in on my business ideas, work really hard, and yeah, in the end, to be able to then finish that chapter with an acquisition, yeah, it was awesome. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, then straight to the questions. How do you define success given being an entrepreneur and a CEO, and what actually drives you?
Yeah. So to start, why I want to become an entrepreneur was because I wanted to decide on my own, make my own terms, what I would do during the day. So like a freedom to operate. That's what I really was looking for. And also that became one of my, yeah, let's say, pillars for success, or at least how I would measure my success, if I could decide on my own day. And if you start a successful business, especially if the business makes money,
Yeah.
you will get eventually more freedom to operate. So that was one. The other pillar for me was an enormous drive. Yeah, how could you?
And would you be able to quantify this independency? I would say
Uh,
the success is like 100% independent, but
yeah, so for me, independency meant really like if you start a day that you do not need to answer anything except for yourself. So in the early days, that was uh, going by myself to the office, uh, making long hours and decide, yeah, myself what I want to do every day. And if you then continued in the job in the company gets bigger. That no matter how big it gets, you still have the opportunity to say no to certain things and decide on your own what kind of opportunities you want to pursue. Um, so in me, quantifying was also meant like if you look at your schedule for the week, are there enough stuff in the week that actually is fun to do and not something that you are obliged to do because you're in that position. Yeah.
And in this case, how would you define fun? Because for some people, fun is like going to I don't know, mountain climbing or surfing or sunbathing. But for entrepreneurs, I think that's a bit different definition.
True. Yeah, for me, that resulted in having an impact. So what I
Okay.
always enjoyed doing, work, is that I feel that I can have an impact. And in the Scribbr time for us, impact meant helping students graduate, and it was a very fulfilling purpose, to have to say, because yeah, you could firsthand get feedback from our customers, and they would graduate or they would not graduate. So every week, actually, we really felt that we were doing the right thing and that we were helping people. So that really, that was for me one of the big points.
Okay. And would you be able to say that you were successful given your definition?
Yes, definitely. So in terms of that first part, the freedom part, of course, during the course of my entrepreneurial career, I was continued to be able to make my own decisions. Partly was maybe also because we were, as a company, bootstrapped, so we did not have any external financing, and we were cash flow positive. So that combination meant that we didn't have to rely on any external capital, and that made us for us very comfortable in our strategy outline, the decisions we made, and also the impact part really grew. I mean, those first years, of course, it starts small, but in the end, we helped around 10 million students a month on our
Oof.
platform, and I still are with Scribbr, a household name under students. So yeah, definitely.
Okay. And throughout this 10 years, you never raised any rounds or
No, never.
just not at the beginning?
No, but I have to say that looking back, it was also we were in the position that we were able to do it because we were, well, like I said, cash flow positive,
Yeah,
in a
cash
way
flow.
that the faster we were growing, the more money would come in up front. And we never had this idea of, okay, let's say we would raise 5 million euros. What's the first thing we would do with it? And then we would never be able to answer the question like right out of the blue.
Yeah.
So for always, it was felt for us like, yeah, we have some ideas where we want to go with the company, but that takes time and just our energy. And we have enough funds to source those projects. So that's why we never raised.
Okay, clear. Okay, and to achieve the success you've defined, first of all, independency, which is correlated with the being a cash flow positive business. And if this successful business can be built on three key pillars, this can be team chemistry, time management, competitiveness, timing. What would those three key pillars be?
Yeah, for us, the number one key pillar was always an immense obsessity about our customers. So we focused 100% on our customers. And that meant also that we were 100% on quality. So for us, any service we delivered, we were saying like, yeah, we should aim as high as possible. So that was our first pillar. And I think a second very important pillar for us was our team, our people, and culture. We spent a lot of time on creating a team that could foster the growth, but also work together in an amazing company culture.
Yeah. And how much did the team grow during your operations?
So we had in the office we had around 100 people in total by the end when we were acquired. So many faces. So it was like we were at this point that it for me was sometimes hard to remember all the names. So that's this point as entrepreneur that you always, of course, know the people that work for you, and then at some point it becomes a bit harder because if you have 100 people, many people don't realize that, but if you have 100 people, normally you have an attrition rate of around 20%. So that means that 1 in 5 a person stays around 5 years at the company. It's already quite high, to be honest, especially
Yeah.
for a startup. But we had around that, like 5 years. So every year, if you have 100 people, every year 20 people leave and 20 people join. So that means every month around 2 people. So it is a continuous loop of new people. So you, especially when you're busy, sometimes it's hard. So we grew to around 100 people. And we also worked with a community of experts on our proofreading service. That was around 800 people. So it was really a people business.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, when it's B2C, the numbers grow quite fast. Okay, and the third pillar, what would that be?
I would say for us, success meant also in the end that the business runs well, so that you have a financially stable business. And I think when we focused on our team and the people we have, in combination with the customer obsession, we actually turned out to do very well financially as well.
Yeah.
So for me, that's the third pillar. Yeah.
Okay, and which of these would be the most important one for you?
Yeah, I think it is customer obsession. I think that's where it starts.
Yeah.
I was thinking about when you start a business in the early days, you do not have a team yet, or maybe you have 1 or 2 founders that you start with, but your focus should be on the customer first. And then at some point you have many customers and you need help, so then your team expands. So for me, the most important pillar is that customer part. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's clear. And let's dive into that customer obsession a bit. So, would you be able to quantify how you ensured being obsessed with the customers and making them happy enough?
Yeah, we had in the end many methods to quantify that. So in the starting period of the company, what we did as founders, we spoke with all our customers ourselves. So I think I spoke to the first 10,000 customers myself.
10,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
Whether that's via email, phone, or whatever. But just keep talking to customers. So that in the end, that was also when you grow as a company and as a founder or CEO, you're more distant from the real operations of the company. So I also think that if you're a bigger company, if you're in a bigger company as CEO, it would be nice to measure like how many customers did I speak to this month. And if I ask other CEOs that now, often I hear very small numbers. And I think that is not a customer obsession. I think it should be at least, let's say, 10 customers a month. That's like 2, 3 a week. That should be doable. So that was one. The other one is what we did at Scribbr. We focused already from early on reviews. I think nowadays getting a review is normal. 15 years ago, reviews was happening. You had Google reviews, but it was still like in the early days. And what we did was we focused a lot on reviews. So with focusing on reviews, you can also measure how you're doing. Like you can put that into a score.
Yeah.
And for us, we always focused on that we would have a review score of 4.9, no matter what. And actually, we managed to do that for most of the time. And I think we have over 30,000 reviews on official platforms. So we always measured that. So those are 2 things I think are already like quite concrete.
Yeah, and how do you act upon these reviews?
Yeah, so what we've learned by doing is that there are two types of reviews from customers. You have reviews that people are super happy with your service or product. They might give you a review. Often then it's the maximum review you can get. And then you have people who are dissatisfied with your service, and those people often give you lowest rating.
Yeah.
There's not much in between. People that are mediocre in terms of how happy they were with your service, they most of the time just leave it at that.
Yeah, they just don't bother with
They don't
giving
bother.
more.
So that's why it's always good to measure how many reviews do you get of your total customers. That can also tell you something about customer satisfaction, I feel. But what we did, we had an immense obsession about customers who were not happy with our service. So what we we implemented was a happiness guarantee service. It's a term that is used in some US firms as well. That's where I picked it up as well. And what we said is that every customer that orders a service with us should be in the end be happy. And if people are not happy with a service, they should be allowed to get their money back, no questions asked. And that has been one of our main selling points actually for our entire Scribbr period. I always had to explain this very well to new team members that joined our team. People started with us in our team often in customer success, and they also had to answer calls from customers that were maybe not that happy about the service we provided. That can happen.
Yeah.
And what we made sure was that we always told the customer that the customer is right. If a customer is not satisfied with your product or service, they are always right.
Yeah.
Um,
That's what you teach to the customer service people.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in the end, actually everyone in our team. And we said that if someone wants his money back or their money back, they can always get their money back. That's not a problem. And for us, it was always very important to just satisfy that complaint. Very important. So that could be that we would redo our service. Sometimes it would be a person that just wants to be heard. Sometimes it's people who just want their money back. We even had people that were scamming us that we had to refund. But in the end, what's most important is that you learn from every complaint.
Yeah.
So what we teach our team, and also what was baked into our culture, is that any complaint is always, we always satisfy any complaint, and it's always justified. We never question a complaint. But what we do is we analyze why the complaint was happening, and we try to fix it. And I have maybe a nice example of that.
Yeah, it would be great.
How that might sometimes feel weird. So what we had is a service called a proofreading service, where students were uploading their master thesis and asked for a proofread of their work. And when you upload a document, you could choose a deadline. And a deadline meant, okay, when I upload my document now and pay for the service, I will give you 3 days to finish the work. And students were depending on these 3 days because, they had to have had a deadline or a hand-in date. And we had to make sure that within those 3 days, we would deliver the service. What happened was that there were a few customers who were starting to complain that we were late. So that we delivered our service not within those 3 days, but let's say a day later. And then a customer like that called us with a hefty complaint and said, like, I missed my own deadline, I want my money back, I'm going to sue you, like those very emotionally loaded terms, which I can understand. And then we checked, but we actually handed this document on time. So this was just fine, but this was within the 3 days. So then you can do two things. You can argue with the customer and say, yeah, it was 3 days. So it's your problem, not mine. But our philosophy was, okay, let's comfort this person. If the person is that angry with us, we will just refund the money. So that's one. Handle the complaint. It's also very nice for our customer success team. They can just handle this complaint, get it out of the way. And then we're going to analyze how is it possible that a customer thinks that the deadline was missed. And now, what stood out was from us is that we did communicate the deadline always very clear when they ordered the service. We also had a confirmation email. But when students logged into our platform, it was not super clear. So what we did was, from that moment on, we went with our marketing team and our design team, and we came up with a new way of communicating the deadline. So we just made sure that those complaints would never happen again. So in the moment itself, for our customer success team, it was very hard to issue a refund if you feel the complaint giver is actually wrong. But because we said, no, every complaint is satisfied, just make sure that you catch why there's a complaint. And then we fixed that, and then the complaint never came back. So.
Right. Nice. Good example. Thank you. Okay. And on to my favorite question. What is one fundamental assumption about how business works, one once you believed or widely accepted as truth, that you now consider as a dangerous hallucination?
Yeah, I would relate this to people who want to start a business and want to start something new, and are still young and just out of school. One of the hallucinations and assumptions I had was that other companies especially companies you look up to, that they know what they are doing and that things are working very nicely and that everything is in control. And now, with all the experience I have, I can tell you that that's never the case. And often the most successful companies, if you look from the inside, it's a mess.
Total chaos.
And I think that's a very, in a sense, dangerous. It's a dangerous hallucination or assumption because it might block you from taking action, or it might discourage you from fixing something or going for something. But no matter who you will talk to in business, in the end, it can look all very nicely. But if you talk to a CEO and you ask him about the problems, they come back with problems you would never think they would have had. That might even be very easy to solve for you. And I think that's also where the opportunity lies. So that's my biggest thing that I used to think always. Those businesses, they are so smart, they know everything. But no, the opposite was often true.
This is, I suppose, this is based on the comparison of once you started and once you're in the middle of the chaos, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that's also hard then to get out of it. So I understand now also better than if you're in that situation. Then it's harder to do so. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also the effect of social media nowadays makes this situation even worse. Like they reflect entrepreneurship as like a really fun and really easy thing to do, but I think it's really chaotic. You enjoy the process, of course, but it is really chaotic and sometimes it doesn't even let you sleep.
Definitely. And I would say, for instance, as a fun exercise, try to call 10 companies, ask them about their services and the prices they have, and I think 5, 6, 7 answers will be wrong, right? So,
Yeah.
like things are often less good than they are. That also is opportunity for young people around to actually help organizations to become better and also maybe start something yourself, I would say.
Okay, so reflecting a bit on the future, now we already mentioned the social media. How do you see what it will take to be successful as a person or as a business shifting over the next decade, given everything happening right now with the AI boom, social media, Gen Z entering the workforce, all this, Elon Musk and the SpaceX IPO, all of these things happening right now. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's not different than 10 years ago or 20 years ago or 30 years ago, to be honest.
You think so?
Yeah, I think there are always technology front, there are always new things happening. In my age, when I just finished university, I think Facebook was just coming up. You had the iPhone apps. It was like everyone was building an app. Was that time period. But what I would say is for everyone, if they want to be successful, is to work very hard. And working hard means sometimes a long hours. But it can also be doing boring work for a long time. So working hard is one aspect of it, and the other aspect is that I would always, what I always tell young people is to try to make sure that you focus on skills. It can be 1, 2, 3 skills that you try to master.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important. And I now sometimes see too many people that don't have skills, and especially when you doom scroll all night. Let's say you go to high school, university, and in the evenings you start doom scrolling. You play football maybe in the weekends. Yeah. You could also say like, hey, I can maybe in the evening I can do a class or learn a language, or for instance nowadays I would do become an electrician or whatever. But do something that you can build a skill with. Yeah, that's something I would.
And then how did you do that when you were starting off?
Yeah, so what I did was I studied economics, and I made sure that in terms of accounting, math, I would really, get skilled. So that meant that I could work as a tutoring student. I would tutor students during university career, but I would also work at an accounting firm, for instance. So what I did was in the evening hours, I worked at an accounting firm. I did not have to spend that many hours there because it was best well paid for a student. and then I
Yeah.
could use the rest of the time to start a business. But that really helped me during those years. Like, hey, I can always fall back on doing accounting work, even though it's not my dream job. Yeah, that's something. And nowadays, for instance, what I would do if I were younger, for instance, I would start learning a bit more as an electrician. And I think you can work everywhere installing heat pumps or helping people with their air conditioning. I think that's a very well paid job and also a fun job to
Yeah,
do.
that's also true.
Yeah.
Yeah, nowadays a lot of different home installment devices are popping up, like the electric ones, like Starlink, etc. I think we will need a lot of technicians in the coming years. That's for sure.
Definitely, and especially when you're majoring or going to school, I think you're only in the books. Might be nice to also do something on the side that it's more with your hands and in the field. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. I asked you some questions, but now it's your time to ask a question. If you were able to ask a person that you think is successful one question to understand how they achieved what they achieved, what would that question be in the similar context of entrepreneurship, let's say?
Yeah. So what I'm not thinking really about people nowadays that are successful in terms of business or life. I'm reading a lot about historical figures, like famous historical figures that had a huge impact on the world and the history of the world. And the question I would ask them is actually how they were able to find their purpose. Many people would already maybe stop pursuing what they pursued. So yeah, that would be my question, I think. How did you manage to get such a strong purpose, like inner purpose, that you would work so hard and so deliberately on achieving your goals? That would, I think, be my question.
And is there any specific person that you would want to ask this to?
No, not particular. For instance, I can give an example. I read last year I read a biography about Winston Churchill, who was a former prime minister of the UK in the 40s and 50s, also during the Second World War. And if you read his biography, then you can see like this person has undergone a lot, like has done a lot in his life, and I would then ask him like every step he took in his life, why would you pursue even more, or what was your inner drive that made your purpose this high? Because I don't have a judgment about how well Churchill was in his time or not, but more
Yeah.
that if more people would be as hardworking and deliberately focused on a purpose as he was, I think that would be better for the world. So that's more my
And have you read about his childhood or his early ages when he
yeah
was young?
yeah.
Did
So
did he have like a trauma or something?
I think he did. Yes, he was. From early days, he was sent by his mom away to a boarding school, and his mom, at least what was in the biography, what stood out to me was that his mom was saying, "You should just go to this boarding school, and then I can travel the world myself without you." So I think that was one thing that I think he felt neglected by his mom for a long time. Yeah, but I'm not sure if that is the relationship with him being, the life he pursued.
Yeah, I think like people with trauma, it depends on the trauma, of course, but most of them are maybe in this case he was just looking for some acceptance from the community, being appreciated, being successful, and maybe that was the thing that
Yeah,
drive him to achieve so much.
yeah, that could be.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you for coming today.
You're
I
welcome.
really enjoyed the conversation, really good insights on customer obsession. Thank you again.
You're welcome. Thanks for the invite and good luck.
Of course, thank you.